The problem with the world today isn't a lack of vision or dreams. It's a lack of wisdom. You see, most people will never have a real shot at achieving anything. And it's not because of what they can't do. It's because of what they won't do. Everyone loves the idea of achieving their dreams of health and prosperity, but none of them is willing to make the sacrifices necessary to achieve them. They actually believe they are who they need to be to achieve everything they want. They actually believe that nothing has to change about them to get there. If this was true, everyone would be exactly where they wanted to be in life without even trying. The truth is, achieving your dreams, whatever the goal, is a threefold journey you're embarking on. It's a journey of the transformation of the mind, the body, and the spirit. A journey that the world would see as extreme and unnecessary. The most important move anyone can make is to shut out the world's opinions and look at those who have done exactly what you wish to do and emulate them in every way possible. Every hard choice, every difficult sacrifice is a part of the evolution to become the person you need to be to achieve your goals, dreams, and not only to achieve them, but to be able to keep them. This journey is an evolution to become the greatest version of yourself. Welcome to the beginning of your evolution. Welcome to the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast. Yeah, Friday! Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be listening. Thanks for making me part of your day. This is episode 260 of the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast. And before I get started, I want to wish every single one of you who's watching this a very happy Thanksgiving from my family to yours. Please enjoy yourself. Enjoy every moment that happens on Thanksgiving, all right? Try not to get caught up in the nervousness that can come from a holiday like this when you are on a weight loss journey, okay? I am going to be releasing this podcast early. Now, I didn't really advertise this, so most of you are probably going to be tuning in on Friday, because that's when it comes out, right? But for those of you who have notifications turned on and you can see that you're getting it on Wednesday or Thursday, please just know Thanksgiving is one day. And if you're here and you're listening to me on Friday, also I'm going to say to you, Thanksgiving is just one day, all right? Listen, what happens on the one day stays on the one day, and that way it becomes an anomaly. If it goes beyond that and it becomes 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 days, it becomes a trend. Let's keep it the anomaly. Let's keep it as one day and move forward. That's how you live a healthy lifestyle and still encounter things like holidays on a yearly basis. These things are not going to come. They're not going to stop coming, right? It's year after year after year. It's never going to stop. Now, let's get into some announcements I want to make. I have exciting news. Look, if you guys are missing Coach Sophie and you still want to connect with her, she is on Instagram, and I'm going to share that on the screen right now. Let's get into this! Journey updates. So weigh-in this week was November 22nd, 2025. The actual work stats go from November 16th, 2025 to November 22nd, 2025. Total steps taken in that time period is 85,483 steps. That's an average steps per day of 12,212 steps per day. Total miles walked in that time period is 36.5 miles. That's an average mile per day of 5.2 miles per day. I stepped on the scale on November 22nd and weighed in at 194.4 pounds. That is a total loss of 0.8 and a total overall loss since January 12, 2019 of 201.2 pounds. Man, it has been a whirlwind, really, over the past, since I hit goal. It's been a whirlwind. And I've been doing a lot of reflecting, a lot of looking back. And I want to take an episode here to just show some gratitude. And, I'll probably be all over the place a little bit here with my thoughts. But in the end, the one thing I know is I've already dedicated this episode to the Lord. So I know that whatever needs to be said most is what's going to be said, even if I'm not completely prepared for it. But I've been thinking a lot about everything, right? I spent a lot of time in the beginning years of the journey. So when I started in 2019, I spent a lot of time aggravated with myself. And a lot of that has to do with, even going back to my upbringing, and going to everything going up to the surgery and everything like that. So, I used to be so angry with the things I did, like remembering stupid things that I did as a child. Remembering things that happened to me as a child, all because of, being made fun of because of my weight and all kinds of things. And that's not, the things that I was made fun of for, the tragic events, I wasn't mad about that. Well, mad about that, but not at myself, right? But the other stuff, like the things that were clearly my fault, I spent a lot of time being angry at, putting myself in line to get this surgery, going through all of the process of being cut open, being mutilated from the inside, going through the recovery process, and then going through the whirlwind of weight loss that came from the post-surgery, only to waste 15 years of my life gaining it all back. You guys have heard this story 1,000 times. But I spent the last week actually being thankful for that experience. Actually seeing value in not just the surgery part of it, but value in all of it. Value in the being made fun of when I was a kid. Value in being rejected by the majority of my peers a lot of the time. Value in the traumatic moments that I have spoke about numerous times. The ones where a number is attached to you. You heard the episode where I talk about all of the numbers that haunted me throughout all of the years of this journey. I had talked about you, and you could even start at the very beginning, right? And you could see when I'm getting close to those numbers, right? And I talk about them, and I tell the tragic stories of those numbers. I told the tragic story about middle school and how we had to go through this government-mandated fitness exam, and how we were all put on a scale, and how every single person that was in that gym was waiting to hear how much I weighed. Waiting. Nobody was talking. It was as silent. I mean, you could literally hear a pin drop that day, where everybody else was getting on the scale and it was talking, it was laughing, and it was all kinds of things. But when they heard my name called and I walk up to that scale, how dead silent it became, because everybody wanted to know how much did Donato weigh. I told that story. But I found in the last week, I found that even as tragic as that story is, to have the gym teacher seem to say my weight just a little bit louder, or maybe it wasn't just a little bit louder, maybe it was the same volume, and maybe because everybody just got quiet, it seemed louder. Okay? I'm not trying to give excuses. I'm just saying that it seemed louder, but it could easily be that everybody wanted to hear my weight. And everybody was dead silent. And so it wouldn't matter if he whispered. Somebody would have heard it. But I found value in every single one of those moments. I found value in what I put myself through to get the surgery. I found value in achieving the success that came with the surgery. And I even found value in all of the failure, the 15 years of failure that came along after that. I could see all of it was necessary. Every last bit of it was necessary. I can honestly say today, from this point on at least, that I no longer regret any of those things. All of the stupid moves I made, whether they were pre-surgery or post-surgery. You heard me tell stupid stories of nearly choking myself to death, of trying to put an entire slice of pizza in my mouth and have it getting stuck in my throat. But it didn't go far enough down to literally choke me. It came right up. But for a couple of seconds, I couldn't breathe. But I was doing it to get a laugh out of everybody that was with me that day. Hey, I'm the fat guy. Look at me stuff my face. Even in those moments, finding value, because all of those things became building blocks that stand today as part of my testimony. Every single one of them. All of the ridicule received from my peers, all of the ridicule received from family members. Family member, I should say. You guys, if you've heard every episode, you know I didn't have the greatest relationship with my father. But I could see all of the interactions that have, I could say, traumatized me at some point. I could see value in all of them in this past week. I'm not saying that I condone any of it. But it's now time for growth, right? You see, the first part of this journey was building the problem. The second part of this journey was an immediate fix to the big problem, right? Well, I can't say really immediate, but putting in the work necessary to reverse the problems. And now the end of this journey, or the next phase, I should say, of this journey is going to be dedicated to growth in many ways here. It's not just a one-fold thing here. Actually, off the top of my head, it's twofold, right? It could change. There more could be added here. But you hear me talk about the evolution to become the greatest version of myself. You hear me talk about that a lot. And you heard me reference that the greatest version of someone's self is the version that God always intended them to be. And I could see what comes next based on that theology alone. Right? So there is going to be more growth physically. In my physical body, there is going to be more growth. As I go forward here, maintain everything I have been doing, and then to embark on something new that is building strength. I know that building strength alone is going to challenge me mentally, physically, in ways I haven't already encountered. I already know that. But there's another part to this. And you have heard me talk about it recently, where the desire is to grow spiritually. Now, I know, based on what I've gone through, based on what I anticipate from becoming physically stronger, I know those are hard things. But to grow spiritually, I know that it will be the hardest thing I ever do. I said becoming healthy was going to be the hardest thing I ever did. I even said that about you who listen. Becoming healthy is going to be the hardest thing I ever did, or ever you do. And many of you would stop at the scale number and not continue any forward, just go into maintenance. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But if my goal is to become the greatest version, the version that God intended me to be, there has to be continued growth physically, continued growth mentally, and growth spiritually. And in order to grow spiritually, I know that there are things from my past that I have to physically get through. See, a lot of people end up with food issues because they're dealing with life a certain way, right? And we call it emotional eating. There's a lot of vocabulary thrown around. In reality, we use food in a way it should never be used in order to cope, right? It's the same thing as someone who uses cigarettes to cope, alcohol to cope, drugs to cope. Same thing. People don't like hearing that either, but it is. It doesn't change. It doesn't make it less true. When you use food for anything else other than food, it's a coping mechanism. And if it's a coping mechanism, you are abusing it, right? It's the same thing. It's become a drug to you. It's become a form of worship. When we're all in trouble, we run to whatever comfort us. And oftentimes we think that what comforts us is the problem. So we think that because I turn to food emotionally, that the food is the problem. But in reality, it is the unsettled feelings that never actually went away. The feelings of neglect, the feelings of abandonment, the feelings of abuse, whether they're mental abuse, physical abuse. All of it. I can say that I can see, in order to grow spiritually, that the stuff that I kind of bury in regards to, relationship with my father, I could see that has to be dug up so I can deal with it and move on. And whatever comes else along the way. Like when you buy a home and you decide you're going to remodel, right? When you start the remodel, you have an idea in your head about how is this going to go, right? We're going to knock down this wall, blah, 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 all these things. And then when you start knocking walls down, that's when the real problems the house had that you didn't know about, that's when you get presented with them, right? That's when you discover everything that was actually wrong with the home that you purchased. Same idea. I'm telling you, I want to grow additionally physically, additionally mentally, and I want to begin to grow spiritually. I don't believe I've begun to grow spiritually at all. I believe that I'm a broken man. I believe I am truly broken. And just because the chains that are attached to me have nothing to do with food does not mean I no longer have chains attached to me. Does not mean that there aren't other chains that attach themselves to me in the process of controlling food at all costs. In order to grow spiritually, I can see all of these things need to be dealt with. I don't know how that's going to go. I don't even know how to begin. But I know it has to happen. And it's got to be divine intervention, right? Divine intervention, because I've experienced a couple things in the past week that I haven't gotten to share with you yet. Last Friday, so while you guys were listening to the last episode 259, that morning I went to a studio, and where Coach Meredith works in Coral. Well, it's no longer Coral Springs. Now it's Sunrise, Florida. Used to be Coral Springs. When I was part of the Coral Springs studio, Terry was the coach, and Meredith was one of the people that, like you weighed in with. And, like she was at that desk or whatever, right, where you got weighed. And so she was somebody I knew in the process since the beginning of this process. So I went to her about, like 2 months ago, whatever the hell it was, to get the 175-pound charm. And when I went to her for that, not only did she order me the 175-pound charm, but she, with confidence, also ordered the 200-pound charm, because she, like many, had the utmost confidence in me that achieving 200 pounds lost was never an if. It was always when. I was coming for 200, whether 200 liked it or not. It was always when. So I contacted her. I want to say it was the day after, all of the craziness of getting on the scale and all that stuff. And I asked her if she had the 200. She said she was pretty sure she ordered it when she ordered the 175. But she would go to work on Monday and she would make sure and let me know. Or go to work on Sunday and make sure and let me know. I was like, okay, no problem. She went to work on Sunday. She saw it there. She let me know. So almost a week later, the Friday after I hit goal, I find myself in the Sunrise workshop. And I had the wonderful pleasure of being accompanied by Terry, who she was there, right? She's one of the architects, you could say. That is who I am, right? She was the demo crew, and she was the person who laid the foundation, right? That helped build the journey. And then I came to Coach Sophie, who was later one of the architects involved in building the success part of the journey. So what Coach Sophie set in motion, what Coach Terry set in motion, Coach Sophie finished the job. It was a wonderful, wonderful moment to sit there with her and to try to hold it together emotionally, literally the entire workshop. And Meredith did her thing, man. She got up there. She had everybody talking. Everybody was, learning stuff. And then she started handing out, the charms for people who lost weight. And so I know that I'm coming up here, right? And I'm starting to get emotional again, trying to hold it together. And I even decided that since I was going to do this, I was going to bring with me because I was asked ahead of time, would I mind giving my story again? Even though probably some of them had heard my story from when I got there for the 175 charm, that there would be other people maybe that didn't hear it. So I decided to be extra dramatic and bring something with me. So eventually she gets to me and she tells the whole room that, I lost 200 pounds. And I start to speak and the people there are demanding that I stand up, and I suddenly find myself in the center of the room. I have physically taken the spot of the coach in that room. And I begin to give my testimony. And I said it with all my heart and tried to keep it together the entire time. But I lay it on the line, right? I'm not embarrassed by what I had to go through to get here anymore. I'm sure at one time I was. I could easily say there was shame involved in messing up the entire surgical journey. I could say that. There's no longer shame. Now all I could see is this was necessary. It was a necessary part to put me in the place I needed to be to say enough. I laid it all on the line. I told everybody just how it happened. I told everybody the most important aspects of all of this. All of the same things I said at this microphone week after week after week, I said to them in that room the same way I sit here and say it to you. But I was standing in front of them. Something just felt different in this moment. At the end of it all, I pull out this bag that I brought with me. And I wanted to show them, because For me to stand up in front of a group of people and say I lost 200 pounds, nobody gets it. Right? They can't picture what a guy 200 pounds heavier looks like, especially if they've never seen me at that weight. So with me, I brought a pair of pants and a top. And I said, I told you guys that I started on January 12th, 2019. That was a Saturday. On Monday morning, these were the pants I wore to work. I put those pants on and I held them out in front of me so they could see the man that was versus the man that is. They saw a size 58-inch waist get pulled away from a size 38-inch waist. They saw a size 4XL shirt get put on and pulled away from a size large body. There was the impact. It wasn't just my testimony. It was the impact of the visual and the sincerity of the message. I found myself after that hugging and just loving Terry for the last few minutes of the workshop as Coach Meredith closed it all out. And then before I know it, there's a procession, people in line to shake my hand, congratulate me. There's not anything in me that believes I deserve any of that treatment. Because when I say to you, there's nothing special about me, I really mean that there's nothing special about me. And it doesn't take a special person to accomplish what I accomplish. It just takes someone who's at the end of themselves. Someone who's done telling lies and believing all of the lies that they say. That's what it takes. And I could see now that moment on that Friday was a glimpse. I feel like God was showing me a glimpse of the future in that moment. I'm not saying that I'll be in workshops. I'm saying a glimpse of the future where I'd be speaking in front of people. Period. And when I sat back in my car afterwards, I felt like I really truly believed I had been shown a glimpse of what is to come. And I said, I was talking to God and I said, if this is what's got to come, my message can't go to the same people week after week. That's not the way this works. Because there's only so long before my words just become white noise. My message is not to talk to people week after week after week. My message is to show up when you're down and out, when you're fed up, when you're about to give in, when you're about to give up. That's when my message comes and smacks you in the face, makes you realize what's most important, and pushes you, if I have to shove you with my bare hands, forward to the next step. That's my message. My message is not someone of a nurturing nature that takes you into the future and guides you. Like people as wonderful as Coach Sophie and Coach Terry, that's what they do. They will hold your hand, and they have the compassion and they have the patience to take you there. But me, I'm the guy that shows you up when you're saying things against yourself that is all a lie. I'm the one that shows up when you're at your wit's end and you can't see the obvious in front of you. I'm the one that shows up when you need me the most. To smack you silly with the truth and give you back to people like Coach Sophie and Coach Terry. They have the patience to hold your hand and wait while you become this version you need to be. I don't. But I do have the strength to set you right back on course. I heard a saying today, and I thought it was really funny. And the saying goes, God, give me patience, because if you give me strength, I'm going to need to be bailed out. I thought that was hilarious. I thought, oh man, that if that's not me, God grant me patience, because if you grant me strength, I'm going to need to get bailed out. Man, if that's not, that is like the epitome of how I work up here. And it's funny, I left that day from that workshop and I'm driving home, and that's the only thing I kept repeating as I'm trying to sit there and talk to God is, it can't be the same people week after week. It can't be. I'm not built for that. I'm not built. I don't have that kind of patience. But when somebody needs to be picked up, when they're afraid, when they want to quit, that's when you should put me in their life. That's when I need to show up. That's when the 58-inch pants need to be right there in their face. When I came home, it's funny because I don't claim to have any kind of close relationship with God, but I believe I do encounter God at certain points, especially in this journey. I told you guys the story many times that on the day Coach Terry handed me the 50-pound charm, there was a voice in the back of my mind that said, you won't get the next 50 unless you start doing some exercise. I audibly heard those words, and I say with confidence, those were the words of God in that moment. When I got home that day, some time went by, and, again, it was a whirlwind, right? It was a whirlwind. I happened to open my email that night and see an email from Weight Watchers. A Weight Watchers talent scout, something like that. Marketing, and it was wanting to connect with me to discuss my success. Particularly in this journey, the most notable times I've heard that voice, the second time that I had zero doubt that this voice was from God, was when I saw that email. And that voice said one word, really. And the word was distraction. That alone told me that I need to stay away from this email no matter how tempting it might be. Oh, I could grow a following. There's so many reasons to contact. But there are so many areas of compromise that could happen to this message. The message of truth. The reason you guys come here week after week after week is because I just say what I want to say, right? I say what needs to be said in a world where you're surrounded by people who believe a corporate propaganda that runs deep. And I know if I become involved in that number one, the corporate propaganda comes with it. And my truth would become compromised. And the person you hear week after week would cease to exist in not only my mind, in your mind. So I had to heed to the voice that said the word distraction and move on. Because whatever it is that God has planned to me, that glimpse of what this would be like has nothing to do with the company. I don't know what it ends up being, but I know it has nothing to do with this company. Especially because my message is not only, it's almost never in these days aligned with the company. Except to tell you that company has a great starting point for most people. It's a great beginning, but it is not the end. It is not the end. The end lies with your growth. The end doesn't lie with your loyalty as a loyal member, paying member, whatever, of this company. Because you've heard me say it 1,000 times, a scale number is not indicative of health. The entire system wants you to believe it is, but it isn't. Your body composition is the ultimate statement of health or unhealthy. What good is making a scale result of losing 200 pounds if the fat composition of my body is 40%? What good is it? If half of my body is fat, what good is being able to say, I lost 200 pounds? The composition needs to change, just like the weight needed to change. So that's why the focus on the composition is next. But also, simultaneously, the growth of my spirituality is going to change. I don't know what that means for this podcast. I'm not saying the podcast is going to end. I'm saying I just don't know about what the message is going to be. But I'm telling you ahead of time, the podcast no longer belongs to me. That I'm going to be dedicating every single episode going forward to whatever message God wants me to say. But I am sitting here today, and I am essentially filled with gratitude. I'm thankful for all of the things I went through as a child. The unfair taunting, the unfair bullying, all of it. I'm thankful for the unhealthy relationship with my father. I'm thankful for the surgery. I'm thankful for the failure that came after that. I'm thankful for me being put in the position to get to my wit's end. For me to get to the position that I came to the end of my own bullshit. I'm thankful for all of it. I could say without a shadow of a doubt, I would not go back and change any one of those parts of my life anymore. They were all necessary. And now, whatever's necessary to come, I just hope that God is with me. Whatever comes of this podcast, whatever comes of me going forward, God help me, God be with me, God give me the strength, God give me the patience that I need to have the spiritual growth to put me in the position of what comes next. To put me in the position to stand in front of people. Because there are way too many things I struggle with now that have nothing to do with food that need to end. Just like the word says, you have to die to yourself, pick up your cross, and follow him. That's what comes next, on top of continued growth physically and mentally. I have no idea what's to come, but I want it to come. Because if what I got a glimpse of that Friday standing in that studio is only supposed to be bigger, on a bigger scale, in front of even more people, then I want it. And I understand that with that has to come some real growth. Real growth to prepare me for something like that. And as the broken man I am today, I'm not ready for it. But God knows that, and that's why I don't have it. That's why it's only a glimpse right now. God, I only ask that you give me the direction going forward. If you are listening right now and you consider yourself a praying person, pray that I continually receive direction, not only for this podcast. Pray that I get direction for my spiritual growth, for my physical growth, and for my mental growth. If you consider yourself a believer and you're listening to this podcast, that's what I ask of you. If you want to support me some way, somehow, somewhere, this is the way I need to be supported right now. Because things are going to come for me that I don't know that I'm ready to face, but I know I have to face them. And I know with your help, I can do it. And with his help, I can do it. I love each and every one of you. God bless you all.